The power of capacitors, from circuit boards to pain relief. Welcome to MarComTech-niques, a podcast about marketing communications and technology, with special series on thought leadership. Be sure to follow us on social media and on your favorite podcast platform. I'm your host and executive producer, Jacqueline Carmona. Have you ever dropped an electronic device on the floor and it shattered to pieces, and you happen to notice a green board? Well, that is called a circuit board. And there are a bunch of capacitors with different shapes, colors, and sizes on that board. As a young girl, I used to watch one of my uncles take apart circuit boards and test each capacitor with a special device. The device had two prongs with a metal type needle. It was used to see which capacitor went bad. He would replace them and have the electronic device up and running again. His favorite store was Radio Shack. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Radio Shack, it's a Best Buy of sorts. This led me to be more proactive and curious as I got older with computers. When dial-up was no longer the latest technology, I actually upgraded my personal computer with the Ethernet. Surprisingly, it wasn't difficult at all. I mean, after all those years sitting at the table and watching him work on electronics, it gave me the courage to be more curious on my own as an adult with tech. So when we talk about tech, usually the first thing that comes to mind to people is software. But software requires hardware, and hardware requires software. So I watched the progression of computers over the years. It has been a natural interest since I was a little girl, thanks to my uncles once again. I have to admit, having men around in childhood helps in developing confidence in things that young girls would normally have no interest in. It is a game changer. Instead of just learning about the kitchen, which some men in my family mastered as well and are excellent cooks, I always saw men solving problems or saving money or making money for the family. It made it less mysterious for me to tackle on all fronts, including, yes, the kitchen. I am always curious and knowing how things work for myself. So when I came across this new technology, I did the same thing. I took the base knowledge I learned from my uncle to gain better perspective on how this device works. I was one of those kids who was always annoying to adults. When adults share ideas with me, the response was, but why? Or how? I needed more details. The conversation would get long-winded, but that is how critical thinking begins in children. And we must learn to never shut those curiosity traits down. Now that I have explained a little about capacitors, let's go into what they really are and how they actually function. They are made from different materials, dimensions, styles, and sizes, but their function is all the same. They contain electrical conductors called plates, separated by an insulating layer. Capacitors are used as electrical circuits in many electrical devices. Capacitors are simple devices that store an electrical charge on their plates when connected to a voltage source. It is much like a rechargeable battery. Capacitors are one of the simplest and basic components of electrical circuits and can be used to store energy. Unlike batteries that store energy through electrical chemical reactions, capacitors store energy unlike batteries. Capacitors discharge rapidly, which allows them to deliver the power quickly, but they do not degrade with repeated charge with discharge cycles, which gives them a much longer lifespan than a battery. However, they have a lower energy density because of it. These are the pros and cons of capacitors versus a normal battery. Now that you know this information, the problem with some capacitors is that the smaller they get, the worse the capacity for energy density. You hold less energy. These high performance microcapacitors could help meet the growing demand for efficient miniature energy storage in micro devices such as Internet of Things, sensors, edge, computing systems, and artificial intelligence processors. The researchers are now working on scaling up the technology and integrating it into full size microchips. Pretty cool, huh? Well, let's take it a step further so I can explain this little by little so I won't lose you as my audience in this tech talk. As you already know, our bodies carry electricity. I mean, think about when people have heart attacks and they use a defibrillator on people to get their hearts going again. Now, let's combine capacitors that you already know carry electricity and let's talk about your body in health tech. Imagine being in pain and not having relief for that pain. Or imagine if you're taking serious medication and where you can't mix it with painkillers, or your average over the counter ibuprofen type of pain management. What do you normally do? Bear the pain? But what if I can tell you that you didn't have to bear that pain? There's a technology that combines the best of different worlds for your comfort. You don't have to use medicine or any other unprescribed drug that won't change your mind or your body in chemistry in the normal sense of medication. It is not permanent. It is a non-invasive patch with billions of tiny micro capacitors. It is flexible and relieves pain instantaneously. Microcapacitors communicate directly with the brain's electrical system, telling it to turn down the pain signal like a bio antenna. The brain can then send help reducing the pain immediately. We are a walking pharmaceutical company of our own of sorts. Our own bodies make different natural drugs. We can create different hormones and painkillers, especially during fight or flight. Have you ever gotten injured to only feel the pain much later? Because your body has you in fight or flight mode, and the pain will not help you to survive at the time. So it kicks in painkillers. Engineers and scientists have been mimicking nature for a long time, from mimicking the bird to a plane to using other sources of inspiration from nature. So imagine if capacitors keep getting more innovative with time and we need less and less batteries to recharge. These capacitors influence pain signal in our bodies. No battery or power source is needed. Instead, they harness the body's natural electrical energy to keep the microcapacitors charged and functioning. This makes them more cost-effective and sustainable solution than the traditional battery. Everyone's talking about how scary AI is, and I wanted to bring to my audience that technology isn't all bad, and there are some great benefits, especially in the healthcare system. And when thinking about technology, don't just think about the software part of technology. We have to appreciate the engineers that bring our hardware to the forefront. We have to not only look at the friendly interface on the software, but also the capabilities of something so simple like this pain patch that eases literally our pain points. Now, the technology may not be simple, but the fact they created a patch that hides all that technology into a simple, flexible patch with replaceable adhesive is what innovative technology is all about. Innovation and practicality. Public relation is crucial to the tech world, especially with all this fear that is currently happening with AI. People find the usual tech talk boring, and it's about finding the right amount of relatable story that everyone can resonate with actual facts that the public can absorb little at a time. So if you are talking to your potential customer and not a colleague, It's best that the public can absorb little at a time to learn in a way that is not condescending with jargon and tech terminology. Sometimes we get carried away with the knowledge we learn or our expertise. We get so excited about an invention. We get so excited about a tech, software, or new hardware that we get into those moments of excitement and forget that not everyone shares the same jargon or the same terminology as you. So you have to find a common ground to share with the world what we know. Thank you for joining us on our podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media and follow us on your favorite podcast platform.